Hello there and good afternoon. Just in case you haven't heard, the EU Copyright Directive, going through the EU legislative system at the moment, has hit a bit of a roadblock. This directive contains the much dreaded Articles 11 and 13 that you have probably heard about. Article 11, which is supported by big media companies, forces, and yes, I do mean forces. It forces news sources to charge the likes of Google and social media platforms a fee when they put a link to their articles on a search page. The idea here being that the news aggregators who profit from the advertising they put on the search result pages pass some of their earnings on to the original creators of the news content they are using. The thinking here is that it keeps news reporters in business and able to provide us with reliable and objective news that can push the so-called fake news out. This would require all sorts of legal agreements and would also mean that small upcoming news sources would be thrown out into the cold, but great for the big established boys and girls. Now, Article 13 is designed to prevent any copyright infringing material being posted to the web so as to protect the original creators' rights to exploit their own work, not have people republishing work they do not own for their own profit. This is highly problematic, as it would mean all content being electronically screened for copyright before it can be published, a massive technological hurdle. A hurdle that would drive small internet players off the field, as well as stop the currently lawful and legitimate use of snippets of other people's works for such things as memes and parodies. YouTube has already said that it would have to consider shutting out all the small uploaders and stick to the big boys only, with whom they would have to have special contracts. Once again, great for the established big people, but not for the rest of us. Overall, the fear was that these two pieces of law would damage the internet and the industries that have been built up around them. Anyway, the meeting due in Romania to approve this directive today has been cancelled, as 11 countries have said they will oppose it. So a victory for common sense and the little people, it seems. Now, before all the pro-EU types get heated up and tell us all that it's great to see EU democracy in action, I have to say that this does not kill the directive off. I expect to see it resurrected later in the year in some form or another, but it could be delayed for some time or even end up being shelved. But here's the interesting bit to show you how our so-called sovereign parliament fits into this. If the UK is still under the cosh of the European Court of Justice, once agreed, this directive would have come into force with the effect that our UK Parliament would have to comply with it within 1 year and make it fully effective in the UK. Our politicians in Westminster would not be able to vote it down. They would not be able to substantively amend it. They would merely redraft it and get the Queen to sign it, making it effective. Now, in the run-up to the 2017 snap general election, the Tories would have known this directive was coming down the pipe, so they seem to have included reference to it in their election manifesto, but without telling you it was in response to law over which they had no control. Their manifesto included: "We will ensure there is a robust system for protection of intellectual property when the UK has left the EU, with strong protections against infringement." That's basically Article 13 of the directive, and at a time when the internet is changing the way people obtain their news, we also need to take steps to protect the reliability and objectivity of information that is essential to our democracy and a free and independent press. We will ensure content creators are appropriately rewarded for the content they make available online. And that is basically Article 11 of the directive. But now that the EU Copyright Directive has possibly fallen flat on its face, how will the Tories fulfil that manifesto commitment? After all, they have said that they will ensure they happen. Now, wouldn't it have been more honest to say that if the EU decides to do these things, we'll just go along with it? Makes you wonder about the rest of all their manifestos across the board and across the parties, doesn't it? Anyway, what do you think? Please leave a comment below and thank you for watching.